let's move on to the second half of the show. And it's going down. We got some NBA talk, we got some boxing talk, and we got a new segment on the show that I'm going to explain in a few minutes. But anyway, let's move on to the NBA because Jayson Tatum has some interesting comments as I pull it up right here. So basically, we all know the finals rematch on Saturday took place on ABC prime time. So Jayson Tatum, the loss to the Warriors is probably more meaningful to the media than to the Celtics. What should we make of Jayson Tatum's comments? And Zay, I'm gonna tell you what I think, right? Because you can take this, you can interpret this question plethora of ways, right? Maybe he's saying that this loss is not going to phase or dictate our season. Maybe he's saying it from that perspective. I don't know. But what I do know is that this game should have had meaning to them prior to this game. They should have went out and won this game. The Celtics are the best team in basketball right now. They've been playing like it. Jayson Tatum has been playing like an MVP right now. What a way to plant your flag of your rival, of your revenge tour on primetime television against a team that bounced you in the finals. Okay, so it should have had meaning to you. I didn't watch the Pelicans and the Suns play twice over the weekend. The Suns sent the Pelicans home in 6 games. You think they didn't have this game marked on the calendar? They went out and they swept the series. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more later on, but they swept this series. This game had meaning to them. Okay, we talk about the, I guess you could say after the game theatrics, even though it wasn't after the game, it was at the end of the game with Zion. They wanted this series. They wanted to, it was a meaningful game to them. Okay, it should have been to the Celtics, and they lost. And I saw some of the same mistakes that they made in the finals when it comes to dropping back or pick and rolls involving Steph Curry, allowing Steph Curry to have the space to walk into a three-pointer with nobody around him. That was the same thing that was happening in the finals last year. That's how they got cooked. Jayson Tatum struggled once again against the Warriors. In his last 7 games against the Warriors, including the 2022 finals, Jayson Tatum is shooting 50 of 141 from the field, 35% against the Warriors. He shot 6 of 21 from the field in this game, and the Warriors was without their best perimeter defender in Andrew Wiggins. They had to revert back to Klay Thompson, and he took the challenge, and he locked Tatum up. So when I look at this game, I don't know. It was a very disappointing game. I'm pretty sure the Celtics fans will beg to differ with Jayson Tatum's comments because they wanted this game, and they lost that game. So I'll leave it at that.
It's for me, right? I think Jayson Tatum, he didn't want to overemphasize the importance it meant for this game because they were playing against a high caliber team, a team that they will have to face in order to get to that championship. They know that they have to face this kind of caliber of teams. The Western Conference has a lot of high caliber basketball teams, and not just the Warriors. But I just think, they didn't want to overemphasize the magnitude of what this loss meant because they were beating up a lot of bad teams throughout the season. Their schedule has been favored towards them, especially when they play against the Milwaukee Bucks, who didn't have Chris Middleton, who they had injuries, they didn't have guys on the court. They played against the Raptors, who are still incomplete. They got their guys in and out the rotation. So there's a lot of different things that the Celtics, are playing against that they're actually capitalizing on the advantages that they have. And I think when you're playing against a team like the Warriors that are able to shoot the lights out the gym and they face them again and they lose, Jayson Tatum's like, it's just a game. It's nothing to worry about, whatever. It's a regular season. But he doesn't realize that that's who they have to be competing against in the playoffs, especially whoever they play against. This is what they have to see. So I think, it was a situation where I think Jayson Tatum could have used his words better. I think he could have definitely emphasized a little bit more to just to appease the media. Because I don't think it's in a locker room. I think it's more of the media thing. Like, it's just another game. It's not that meaningful to us. It's whatever. It's just another season game. And I understand that that's how players see certain games, but not against the Warriors. The Warriors are a team that you needed to beat up against because they were a team that's actually dwindling, throughout the season. They weren't playing well. And you saw probably the best game Klay Thompson has played thus far this season, followed by Curry hitting 6 threes in the game. Jordan Poole, I think, had 20 or 15. I forgot how much he had. But Jordan Poole was scoring as well. And, if you're going to call yourself an elite team or you're going to say you're an elite defender or you have the defensive player of the year and Marcus Smart, then you got to lock down some people. You got to put some people in clamps. You got to make sure that they're not making a lot more baskets than you or they're not out hustling you or out rebounding you. That's what it means to be the better basketball team, doing everything more than the other team. And I just think the Celtics, throughout that game, I don't know if you've seen it, but throughout that game in its entirety, they were just, like I said days ago, they were just trotted. They weren't really playing like they had something to lose. They just kind of like, whatever, regular season, we're just going to play some regular recreational basketball. Like, that's how they look. They just look so nonchalant. And then Jayson Tatum's shot selection, for me, it's just not good. The guy, I understand he's talented. He just feels like he could just shoot over people every single time. And that's not the best shot. The Celtics have opportunities to get guys open. Sometimes that extra pass is needed, but against the Warriors, there's a lot of isolation basketball, and that's not something that's going to help them win a championship. If that's the goal, to win a championship, you need to be more team oriented. And I just think that against the Warriors, they weren't that.
And you can argue that Tatum should have probably went to the facilitator mode and got other guys involved. Jaylen Brown, he didn't left his shot home, right? He was shooting good, so he could have probably just took that back seat and eased his way into the flow of the game, which he normally does on a night-to-night basis. Ask who scores all that first quarter points. That's Jaylen Brown. But nevertheless, I think the game had meaning to the Warriors if you see how they played, and they won the finals.
Yep.
And that's where the problem is for me. When you talk about Jayson Tatum's comments, is that the game had meaning to the Warriors and they bounced you. Why does it have meaning to them and they won? Because when you look at the Warriors, I'm not sure if you noticed it. This is just my observation. The Warriors tend to play down to the opposition. They tend to wake up for the big games. I noticed that for the last couple of years on the championship runs. When the stakes are higher, that's when they play their best brand of basketball. And Claire, the stakes was high. Even though it was a regular season game, prime time, the stakes were high in that match. They woke up for it. This team was a bottom team defensively, okay? A bottom 10 team defensively for the whole season. And yet they used this game as the prop to play their best defensive outing of the season. They held this Celtics team that has one of the best offenses in the league, if not the best, to 107 points. Okay, so they woke up in this game. And you know what? This is a telling stat for me. The Warriors are 4-0 against initial finals rematches that they won. These games mattered to them, and it should have mattered to the Celtics, being that they lost to the same exact team.
Last thing, I just want to make this last point. Jayson Tatum has to overemphasize, at least in the locker room, that this was a crazy loss because you probably just woke up the Golden State Warriors. They just beat the best team in the NBA. So now you just probably woke them up and just like, all right, well, we still got it. Clay got 34 points. I got 32. Jordan Poole, 20. Draymond Green's still doing his hustle thing against the better team. We still got it, clearly. It's not like we're out of it. It's not like, in their mind, probably leading up to the Celtics game, they're probably like thinking, are we still good enough to compete in the NBA? Are we still like a top echelon team? And they just, it was an ass whooping. To be quite frank, it was an ass whooping. They locked down the Celtics' best player. They enabled him to do whatever he wanted to do while your best player is doing everything he wants to do. The Warriors just woke up. And that's something that Jayson Tatum needs to be worried about. Then we just probably gave the battery, battery recharge to the Warriors, the NBA champions, and we could have just took them out of their misery possibly. Instead, we just gave them the battery then back. So now y'all feel worried about that. Like, damn, now we got to play them again later in the season. Like, sheesh, what we gonna do now?
Absolutely, I think they definitely put the battery in the Warriors back, and that's why this game has meaning. But I also will say that along with the Warriors playing their best, I guess you could say, game on both sides of the basketball, playing that brand, the Warriors brand. They always had an elite defense when they went on championship runs. I don't know what happened this year. There was a lot of variables that went into that. But Jonathan Kuminga is another guy who I believe is earning the trust of the coach now. Remember, he was struggling early in the year. He had about 14 points in this game, and what he did defensively is earning him some time on the floor. So, and that's how the Warriors play. They always play as if they want to win the game and take the game seriously, they're going to win that game. And it's just another classic example of the Warriors and how they wake up for big games. So Jayson Tatum and the Celtics, you're playing good. Jayson Tatum, you might win the MVP if you keep it up. But remember that the Warriors are still the team to beat. And we'll leave it at that.